You know what I thought of Thor Ragnarok? I thought it was trash. Okay, that's all. Bye!
I was dreaming of bigger things and wanna leave my old life behind.
Wait a second, that's the wrong script here. Alright, let's get started. Marvel Studios' Thor Ragnarok, directed by the hit director Taika Waititi, is actually the worst movie I've ever seen. Yes, you heard that right. The film that was loved by both fans and critics alike is actually a poorly made piece of crap that should be destroyed, along with this film. But that's the problem with these MCU movies. They all connect to each other, and they all affect the next film in some way, so now the MCU no longer really matters to me. So much so that if Avengers Endgame was canceled right now, I wouldn't even care that much. But let's move on. When I first saw the trailer for the film, I thought it was really weird. But I didn't think too much of it, because usually the trailer is misleading. So my friend said he got the movie as soon as it came out, and I was excited to see another MCU movie, because so far even the worst ones were still pretty good. So me and my family drove to his house, sat down, had some popcorn, and I was pumped. Then I saw the movie. Two things before we begin. First, let me talk about the director. This director, who goes by a name so weird that I'm pretty sure he is the only human being that can pronounce it, and he is also known for such hit films as Eagle vs. Shark, Boy, and The Hunt for the Wilder People. So why would Kevin Feige hire a guy who hasn't really directed anything well known is a good question. Keeps me up at night to think that a hack who once starred in the hit film Green Lantern directed this multi-million-dollar film. Wait. Oh my gosh! Now before I start going on a rant, let me say what I actually did like. There's not much. Well, I like this opening fight scene. I think it's pretty cool. I like this shot here. And well, Jeff Goldblum's always a plus. Well, I also... well, I guess that's all there is that's actually good about this movie. Number 1. The execution. Now, I firmly believe it's possible to make this film work. But to do that, you would have to change a lot of things. More on that later. But a perfect example of poor execution is the scene where Odin dies. Spoilers! Now watch this scene.
My sons, I've been waiting for you. Your mother, she calls me. Do you hear it?
Loki left your magic.
It took quite a while to break free from your spell. It is upon us, Ragnarok.
No, I've stopped Ragnarok. I put an end to Surtur.
No, it's already begun. She's coming. My life was all that held her back, but my time has come. I cannot keep her away any longer.
Oh, who are you talking about?
Goddess of death, Hela, the firstborn, your sister. Her violent appetites grew beyond my control. Couldn't stop it, so I imprisoned her, locked her away. She draws her strength from Asgard. Once she gets there, her powers will be limitless. I'm on a different path now. This you must face alone. I love you, my sons.
Now, I can mention several things wrong with this scene, from the bad wigs, the terrible lighting, and the awful special effects, but that's not why we're here. Now, if you notice, Odin gives out a lot of new information, but we as an audience have very little time to process it all. In fact, it took me a solid minute till I figured out what was going on. In the span of about 2 minutes, we learned that Odin has ended up in Norway somehow, which is never explained. Ragnarok is upon them. Loki and... I refuse to call this guy Thor. We'll call him Larry. Okay, we find out that Loki and Larry have a sister that Odin didn't tell them about because the scriptwriter decided last second that this should happen. It's true, look it up. That Odin is gonna die. That when he dies, it will free Hela from prison for some reason. That Asgard gives her power for unexplainable reasons. Now, I will go on and say why each of these things make no sense or fail as story points altogether. Alright, so Odin has ended up in Norway somehow. My only guess is that Doctor Strange brought him there, but even so, why would he send him there? And if he did, how has Odin survived with nothing to eat or drink? Why didn't he just die earlier? Why'd he wait for Larry and Loki? Why'd he even think Loki would show up as well? In fact, why is he so nice to Loki? Didn't Loki commit an act of complete treason? Last time he did that, he did this to him.
I really don't see what all the fuss is about.
Do you not truly feel the gravity of your crimes? Wherever you go, there is war, ruin, and death. All this because Loki desires a throne.
It is my birthright.
Your birthright was to die! Frigga is the only reason you're still alive, and you will never see her again. You'll spend the rest of your days in the dungeon.
You would think he'd be all like, now that your mother is no longer here to stop me, I, Odin, all father, cast you out. That would be way more in character for him, but I guess he forgave him for all that. In fact, everyone seems to forgive him. The Ragnarok is upon them. Let me just say, I don't know that much about Norse mythology or the Thor comics, but I do know that Ragnarok means the end of the known world, when all the people of the world rally to fight against it, and after that, the world resets. But in this film, it's a lava monster that looks like Kronos from the Percy Jackson films, with a big sword that just kind of destroys Asgard. I'd also like to point out that Ragnarok comes out of nowhere. In both the comics and Norse mythology, all the Asgardians are preparing night and day until the time comes. But in here, nobody seems to know what it is, and they don't seem to care. I know why. It's because the writing sucks. We find out Loki and Larry have a sister.
Goddess of death, Hela, the firstborn, your sister.
Yeah, what?
This statement was so baffling that I thought it was added last second, so I did some research. And sure enough, it was something they added last second so the heroes could somehow connect to this cardboard cutout of a villain. But I'll talk about that later. The fact that Odin would keep something like this from his kids makes no sense, and I'm calling bullcrap on Marvel's end for not planning this film out, and instead hiring this guy.
Bye-bye.
So Odin's about to die, so Anthony Hopkins is killed off because Marvel didn't know what else to do with him, so they wrote a lazy excuse as to why.
Your mother, she calls me.
This entire scene feels out of character for a guy like Odin, who we've previously seen act like this.
Your birthright was today.
Now he seems like a pretty nice guy for some reason. Maybe Anthony Hopkins was just tired and said he would only come back if he had to sit and talk really quietly. In fact, all of his scenes are shot on a cheap green screen. Maybe he just put on an eye patch and sent videos of his performance from home and Marvel just called it a day. So if Odin dies, Hela is released from prison. So for some reason, if Odin dies, Hela is released from prison. This doesn't make any sense and is never explained as to how this is possible or why she just shows up right next to them. What about all the other people Odin has sent there? Why didn't they come back? One can say that was just for her, but in Infinity War we hear Larry say,
Families can be tough. And before my father died, he told me that I had a half-sister who's imprisoned in hell.
so if Hela is in hell, then why is she the only one released? Well, I'll tell you what that's called. Lazy right. So Hela gets power from Asgard somehow. Now Odin tells Larry and Loki,
She draws her strength from Asgard, and once she gets there, her powers will be limitless.
but that makes no sense. No one else on Asgard draws power from the place, so why can she, you ask? Because the script needed her to be invincible, or else they could just stab her in the face with a sword, making the movie over in 5 minutes. Pretty sure the script was written in crank.